Oh, man. Hey. Decided to make a video, no fancy lighting, no desk. I'm sitting on the floor because I happen to be laying on the floor because sometimes when I get overwhelmed, I just I lay down on the floor and I just look up at the ceiling and it kind of helps me focus and bring myself back from wherever I was. Kind of like lazy yoga almost. I've been so not okay recently because of all the stuff that's going on. It's hard to look at the news anymore because you never know if you're going to go on the news and you're going to see another dead person. If you're going to see another black person that has been murdered by the police or by some well-meaning citizen. Fucking dumb. I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandpa worked in law enforcement for an incredibly long time. He worked in law enforcement before I was born. He worked in law enforcement up until relatively recently, given his career. Into my adulthood, he worked until he retired. And I know so many people that I would consider friends who are now police officers who have stepped into the line of duty, as it were. And so I shouldn't be afraid of the police. I shouldn't be afraid. No one should be afraid. When they become officers, they take an oath to protect and serve. That means us, right? That means us. It doesn't mean use excessive violence and murder black people indiscriminately and get away with it. That's not what that means. I'm black, a little more light-skinned than some people, but it doesn't matter. I remember having the talk with my dad when I was in middle school. Not that talk, not the one you're thinking of. I remember making some kind of off-color comment that I couldn't pull off some kind of hairstyle because I wasn't black enough. Not being black enough was something that I've struggled with my entire life. When I was younger, it's a completely different issue, an entirely different issue. But that's just what I thought. And I remember my dad, and I said it to be funny, kind of, and I remember my dad, he did not think it was funny. He got very serious. And the gist of what he told me was that the world is going to see you as black no matter what you do. You might as well be proud of it. And ever since I had that conversation with him, it changed the way I viewed the world, changed the way I viewed myself. It put something in my heart that was incredibly important, that I shouldn't be ashamed or afraid of who I am. And I'm not. I'm very proud of my culture, heritage. I'm proud to be Black. I'm not afraid to be Black. But now, because of everything that's happening, I am afraid of what might happen to me because I am Black. I go and I walk outside at any point, and maybe I fit a description. Maybe I'm dead in a ditch. Maybe I laugh too loud around a racist person who thinks I need to die today. They've weaponized it. Racism has been weaponized. People just get away with it. Because who cares about Black people? Who cares about people of color, minorities, people who are down in their luck? Who cares about all those people? It's been weaponized. And there's a part of me that goes, oh, well, I live in a really liberal part of the country, right? I don't need to worry about stuff like that. But then I see an article about police downtown Seattle being fucking crazy. So who knows? Who knows? I shouldn't have to be afraid of cops. I should know if I should see a cop car or a police officer and be secure and feel safe because I know they're there. And I know that like there are a lot of really good police officers. When when the massacre in Dayton happened, I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and I was here when all that happened. I know I have friends that I know were in the area when all that happened, and I know how important the police were to stopping it and to helping the community in the days and the weeks after it happened. And I see the value that they provide. But it's hard for me to reconcile that against how many of them are just killing people like me every day. George Floyd was murdered. Ahmaud Arbery was murdered. The blood didn't even dry on Ahmaud before George was killed. And plenty of stuff happened in between those two people being murdered. Plenty of it happened before. All the way back to Trayvon Martin. Before, decades and decades and decades before. We just can film it now. I remember a couple years ago, I went to go see a movie with my roommate, and we were coming home. It was late. It was probably about 12:30 in the morning. Saw a late show. And there were just a couple cop cars parked outside of our leasing office, and so I saw them, and my brain said, oh, it's the police. I should go. And so I turned around, and I went to a gas station a mile down the street to buy snacks and drinks and stuff like that, and waited until I thought the cops would probably be gone. Then I went home. And at the time, and still, to this day, me and my roommate kind of joke about it, because admittedly, it was more suspicious to like suddenly turn around at the sight of cops and go away in one direction. But that's what my brain did. That's how my brain clicked, and it shouldn't do that. That's not the connection that my brain should make when I see a police officer. I could tell you the story about the most scared I've ever been in my entire life, also here in Seattle, when I was with somebody that was supposed to be a friend that I cared about, and they were drunk and I was not, and we got into a disagreement and the cops got called on me. And at 3 a.m, young black man going into a car, and he turns and he sees a police officer walking toward him with his hand on his fucking hip, ready to go. And me having to talk to him for 20 minutes before he finally took the hand away. Glad he showed restraint that night, because the call that was made on me was that I was suicidal, threatening to kill myself, and that I had a gun. 3 very false claims. And this officer walked up to a young black man at 3 o'clock in the morning who he suspected might have a gun and might be crazy and willing to do whatever. Maybe that was a lucky night for me. Black people have been murdered for less. I've had other little incidents, little things where I'm trained to be afraid of the police, little things that trigger in me because I see the news and I see everything that happens. They've happened before, and unfortunately they'll happen again, because that's just the world we live in now. And what do we do about it? We sign petitions, we call our government officials, our elected representatives, we protest, we fight. It just gets so exhausting because it keeps happening. And every time it happens, nothing happens. It just goes in a loop. And it gets more painful and harder and harder and harder to deal with every single time. Because what do you do to a system that doesn't care about you? You can hope and you can plead and you can pray and you can do whatever the hell you want that the good ones that got into it for the right reasons speak up. But you have this boys club that's rooted in aggression and violence and not speaking up against your brother. And that makes them afraid to do anything. And that makes them complicit. I don't care what you think about that. It's the truth. You can worry about, oh, how are they going to feed their families? Well, there are other jobs. I have no sympathy for it anymore. And I will never be able to say truly that all cops are bastards or bad or wrong or whatever, but what I can do is I can expect more. Black lives do matter. They matter. They always have and they always will. And I don't like hearing all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter, because it's a lie. All lives do not matter because Black lives clearly don't. You want to say all. All is all. All is all. You can't change the definition of the word all to suit your needs. You can't. All is all. Black lives do not matter to the country at large. They do not matter to people who obfuscate the point and try and flip what's happening on the people it's happening to, who are being gaslit by the country that they're supposed to live in and love, and that's supposed to love them. It does not tolerate people who are outraged that people are rioting and looting, but they're not outraged at murder. Rioting and looting that worked. Now they're making George Floyd's murder investigation a top priority. And they're escalating it federally. I don't know what'll come of that if they charge the murderers that did that to him. 4-on-1. They're all complicit. They didn't stop it. But it worked. Stay angry. Keep fighting. Never forget these people. Keep signing your petitions. Keep calling your people. Keep coming up with ways to end it. I don't know. I don't really know. Maybe we need a good old-fashioned revolution, huh? Fuck 'em.